Hello, welcome to Aging Well in America. I'm Anne Marie Gattari, your host. We have with us today two very special guests, Marianne McCauley from Grosse Senior Living in Clinton Township, and Faye LaPorte, Dementia Specialist from BrightStar. Thank you both for coming. We have in your community a really interesting dynamic going on in that you are looking, Marianne, to really open your doors to the entire community, not just to the people who live there. So that's why we have Faye here today to talk about the lecture series that you're going to have at the end of the month. But before we do, I'd like you to introduce to our viewers, please, Grosse Senior Living.
Well, Grosse Senior Living is in Clinton Township, right off Hall Road between Garfield and Romeo Plank, right next to Partridge Creek Mall.
Yes.
So it's not hard to find, just kind of tucked away.
Right.
We have independent living, assisted living, and we have memory care.
Okay.
So a lot of people have
How many beds in each of those?
Okay. Well, we have 72 independent living apartments.
Okay.
Those are full apartments ranging from 670 square feet all the way to 1,360 square feet.
So one or two people can live in those
That's right.
apartments, and they are quite gorgeous.
Yes, they
I've
are.
seen
It's
them.
really like condo living.
Yes.
For sure. More like a cruise ship than a senior living. And then our assisted living, we have 68 apartments. And the way that our community is designed, our assisted living resembles more our independent living. The only difference is that we have our staff, it's a licensed assisted living community. So we have 24-hour nursing, care staff, and med techs. To give the care that somebody needs. Just because somebody needs a little bit more care doesn't mean that they should have to live in a hospital setting.
Of course.
And so that's what I love about that. And then for memory care, we have 38 private studio apartments.
Oh, very good.
And so that's really nice. And our memory care is all inclusive. So that means that all care levels are included.
Okay.
And it's
Up
a beautiful...
to how many hours if someone needs?
Well, it's
12
24/7.
It is.
So it's a secured environment, and it's a protected environment. So it has the feel of a home, and so it has a kitchen and a living space, and it's just beautiful. It's my favorite part of the whole community.
Yeah, it is
and
very pretty.
So many people, you know, when they get the news from a doctor that their parent might have cognitive impairments and need to live in a secured environment, it's really a shock, and they get they kind of have this misinformation about what that living environment can be, and that's why I really wanted to make it one of my priorities is to educate the public on what, you know, what are the resources out there, first of all. And that's how I brought Faye in to, we're actually going to be having a lecture series at the end of January. And we're inviting the public to come in. And we're going to start on January 24th is going to be our dementia subject.
Okay.
And we have Teresa Russo from the Alzheimer's Association is going to speak on dementia and how to communicate with someone maybe that has some cognitive impairment. And then Faye is actually going to be doing a workshop where she's going to work with individuals on families that attend the seminar on ways of dealing with somebody that in your family unit that might have cognitive impairment. And maybe you can tell us
Crafts and
more about that.
activities
Yeah.
we're going to concentrate on based on 4 years of hands-on experience with dementia people in all phases. I have found that we can have an activity for any level. So that is basically what the workshop is. It's going to be how these activities can really put your loved one on a different level.
Right.
With enjoyment being the main focus.
When you speak about this different level, Faye, we know our mothers have both suffered from dementia, so I know, you know, we have that personal experience, and Marianne, you certainly do in your day-to-day as well. But when we talk about somebody I like to think of it as making their day more cheerful or more meaningful.
Yes.
Because there's just too many people who watch the TV day in and day out.
Well, it's a babysitter, basically.
Yeah, the television is, right? And that really is, I mean, I know I was guilty of it too with my own mother. It was a way for me to have a break. It's almost like we use the TV as respite. But there are so many things we can be doing or we can have other people do with our loved ones. So give us one of your success stories, if you wouldn't mind.
I have a favorite one. Because the whole focus of the activities is threefold. They're going to get three things out of these activities. They're going to get enjoyment. They're going to get a feeling of accomplishment, which they have not had. And they're also going to get a feeling of being. They can be a person for that 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And it's all done through those activities. And the one example I would give you is they're so tired of being questioned every day, constantly bombarded by questions.
Such as?
Do you want to eat? Do you want to get up? Do you want to get dressed? Do you remember Aunt June? Do you remember Aunt Flo? All these things.
Yeah.
And they kind of escape to their own little hidey place just to avoid it. So by bringing something out, my favorite is I bring in a bag of coins that are all messed up, and I dump them on the table, and I always say, oh my gosh, I've dropped this in the car. I've got to get it ready to take to the bank. I know you could help me. I know you could. Here's the little wrappers, and you put the wrappers out there, and you put the coins out there. They want to help you. Now, see, they're becoming a person for that few minutes. And it doesn't matter if there's 2 coins in the envelope, 6 or whatever, and it's a mess usually, but they do get little stacks going. So all 3 things happened. It's enjoyment, it's accomplishment, and they were a real person during that activity. And you'll see the little twinkle, and you see the little smile. That's the goal of all of it.
So bringing this, that's a wonderful example, and I know you have many, many of them. Bringing this one activity into Marianne's lecture series, how will it actually work? Are you going to have families, loved ones with dementia and their families set up at tables, and are you going to actually be giving them examples and projects to work on?
I think, aren't we in a theater environment?
Yeah, we're going to be in our theater. We actually have a beautiful theater in our community. And we're going to start there, and we've discussed it, and Faye is going to be actually in the front where we have quite a bit of room, and she's going to call up family members from the audience to kind of do a hands-on
yeah, we're doing some fun stuff,
so
too.
It'll be some demonstration.
It'll be interactive, for sure.
Yeah, very good, very good. Excellent. So this is just your dementia. I think you mentioned 2 speakers. I know you have a third.
Right. Well, we have 2 speakers for the day, but we also have Macomb Senior Services are going to be at the lecture series to offer their support and resources that might be available.
I understand.
Shelley Banya from Macomb Senior Services will be on site during the lecture series to offer families more resources that they might not know about.
So she'll be there throughout the 3 days.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
And you know, and then we'll have other resources available, home care agencies. We'll also have Sarah Care is going to be on site so that families can come in and kind of in a comfortable environment where they're not being pressured to, you know, make
Sign
decisions or anything like that. It's not about that. It's just about educating the public on what are the resources. Do they want to stay home and try to get some help? Because, you know, I run into a lot of families where I'll meet one spouse, maybe at the senior center, and they've been caring for a family member with dementia, and they're exhausted. And they don't have a break, and they don't know that, for instance, you know, we have a respite available, a minimum of 7 days, but we run into a lot of families like this where the spouse maybe hasn't been on vacation in years.
Why the 7-day minimum?
Because it actually can be more disruptive to somebody with cognitive impairment for a shorter stay.
I see.
It takes a little bit to get acclimated and you know, to get the benefit of
Yeah.
being in the community and to give that caregiver at home a break.
A real break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's really kind of an amazing thing, you
I
know,
see.
where people can go on vacation
And then they come
know
back.
that their loved one is safe.
Yeah. Faye, you've studied dementia, Alzheimer's Association, Johns Hopkins. Just recently, you've taken another quite extensive course to become a certified dementia practitioner, and that I know that credential is pending.
Yes, it takes about 30 to 60 days, I believe, to
To
get
process.
it back. Yeah.
Tell us about some of those the courses that you've taken and.
Well, they've all been a little bit different. The Alzheimer organization courses are really kind of light, very complete, and they do take you through probably every phase, but it's really not a heavy-duty course. The Johns Hopkins course was very extensive. It was on a different level. It was community involvement, not so much the individual. Families, communities, what communities can
And
do.
the
how should you-
resources.
Yes, resources,
okay.
and how you should interact with them.
Okay.
There are so many places, and I never even thought of this, that aren't dementia-friendly.
What do you mean by that?
It could be a restaurant, was an example.
Oh.
It could be shopping malls. You know, if they're cobblestones and stuff, that's really not dementia-friendly.
So you're not necessarily speaking of how the people in those environments react to your loved one with dementia, but the equipment, the furniture,
All of it.
the
All of it was just a whole thing I've never even thought of. So it was very, very interesting.
Okay.
There's even, you can go further and really promote making your community dementia-friendly. And there's stickers and all kinds of things. So I think that's a new goal to pursue because it's great for families as well as caregivers that are even professional.
Sure. And on the flip side, of course, Rose Senior Living and all of the
Absolutely.
many wonderful facilities in our community are dementia-friendly. Give us an example or two of what dementia-friendly aspects of Rose Senior Living.
Well, one of the things I love about our secured environment is that it is secure. So the resident is safe. You know, it's not like we're not at a prison. Nobody loses their personal identity or their rights, but they are in a secured environment. And when somebody is in the right environment, they thrive. And so we have a beautiful kitchen that's open 24 hours in our memory care, and I love that because, you know, especially with cognitive impairment, you know, sometimes when they were living at home, that was one of the things that mom or dad lost a lot of weight because they forgot to eat.
Sure.
And so
Or they were kept out of the kitchen, right?
That's right.
Yep.
So eating and food is always important, and it's just like a beautiful, you've seen it.
Yes,
it's
great.
a beautiful environment, and food is out, and there's fresh fruit and different things available
And
24 hours a day.
The view is beautiful out of those big windows.
Yes, it
It's
is.
really nice.
But everything in the environment was planned specifically for people with dementia or Alzheimer's, or cognitive impairment of some kind. And so just like, you know, the round edges instead of sharp edges,
Sure.
and even a secured outdoor environment. You know, so it's called Awakenings is the program that we use in
nice.
our environment, and so it's really quite beautiful.
Great. So that's your lecture series. It's 3 days. The first one is dementia. We've spoken about that. What are your other two
So
lectures?
the first one is from 5 to 6:30 on January 24th.
Okay.
The second one is from 2 to 3:30 on January 26th, and that's going to focus on Parkinson's disease, and specifically Vietnam veterans suffering from Parkinson's disease.
Because we see a trend.
Well, Parkinson's was recently made a presumptive disease for Agent Orange. So for veterans
For exposure
who were
to-
exactly, so veterans who were boot to ground in Vietnam during the war, were exposed to chemicals, specifically Agent Orange, and they now have diseases caused by that chemical. And one of them that they're relating it to is Parkinson's. So I think that the number of Vietnam veterans now that have Parkinson's disease.
Does it, and you may not know this, I don't mean to put you on the spot on Parkinson's, but I'm thinking of my own brother. Is there an age when Parkinson's, there's an onset of it?
Yeah, you know what, I'm not sure, but that's why I wanted to get that education to the public.
That's exactly why.
So I have experts coming to lecture to speak.
And these are the
those
questions
kind of
we'll be
subjects.
able to
That's
ask, right? So who are the speakers for that lecture
well,
series?
we're going to have Vietnam Veterans of America, Brian Bobeck from Chapter 154. In Clinton Township, Michigan. And then we're going to have Phil Smith, who is the National Vietnam Veterans of America. He is an advocate and a speaker about all things benefits for veterans. And he'll be speaking about service-connected benefits that are available to veterans, specifically Vietnam veterans suffering from Parkinson's disease.
Okay.
We have a great success story. We have a resident living in our secured environment, and he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and he's a Vietnam veteran, and he's receiving 100% service connection benefit, which helps his family, him and his family, afford the 24/7 care that we provide in such a beautiful environment.
Wonderful.
And he's thriving. And he was kind of my inspiration. And I'm getting a little teared up, but sorry. He is just an amazing, him and his wife. And so I thought we have to let other families know about this. We have to let other families that are living just like this couple out there, let them know that there's resources available and there could be a benefit up to $3,000 a month to help pay for the care that they need.
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
Get the support that they need.
Yes.
So
You've become their angel.
well,
I was just at a family party this past weekend, and looking around the room, all of my, many, not all, many of my first cousins who are 10 plus years older than me are Vietnam vets. And here they are at different stages.
Unfortunately,
we talked a lot about it, but I've never thought of.
The majority of our Vietnam veterans that went overseas are suffering from some sort of service-related disability now. We're actually losing more Vietnam veterans per day than World War II veterans.
No kidding. I didn't know that was a statistic. Wow. So, well, that's wonderful you're bringing those resources in. And then your third day?
Yeah, so my third day is kind of, it's been my passion the last 15 years, and that is senior veterans, specifically World War II, Korean, and Vietnam veterans who are at a point in their life now where they could use a little help. Maybe they need a protected environment, maybe not a secured environment. Maybe they need to move into a beautiful independent living community because it's just too much for them to take care of their home and they need some assistance. So maybe that veteran, when it's about veterans and it's about our senior veterans, maybe that veteran needs just a little bit of help showering, or they need some help, walking or ambulating from one place to another. Those veterans are also eligible for benefits. So that's a thing that I've been working on for 15 years, is getting the word out and educating the public about this great benefit that's available to them. I have a great success story for that one too.
Yeah, let's hear it.
We have a couple that that moved into our community in independent living, and he's receiving $2,120 a month for this non-service connected benefit to help offset the cost of living in our community. And so now he actually has more disposable income than he's ever had in his whole life.
And you were able to help him apply for and receive those benefits.
So what I do specifically is I help get the right information to families and because there's so much misinformation out there, especially on the internet. And then I line them up with the right people that can set everything up before they apply.
Wonderful. That's great. Wow, there's a lot going on in at Rose Senior Living, and it is a beautiful facility, community, and we encourage all of our viewers, whether they live in Macomb County or here in the Grosse Pointes, to be on the lookout for the more detailed information on your lecture series and to attend.
And I always tell people, like, the time to look for the community that you might want to live in is before you need it.
Before you need
So
it.
go and tour these communities, you know, and have lunch and try the food and look who lives there.
Yes.
You have a
You know?
wonderful tour at your facility.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
It's very
Yes.
complete,
Yes.
very nice.
Faye, I want to kind of bring this back. We've got a few minutes left. Tell us about your journey. I heard someplace or read an interview with a geriatric physician who said, you don't choose a career in aging or Alzheimer's, specifically dementia. It chooses you.
It does.
And that's very much your
it does
story,
choose
as
you.
I understand
Right.
it. Tell us a little bit about
Gosh,
your
I don't
journey.
even know. I took care of my mother, of course, who had vascular dementia, made tons of mistakes. I lost my patience with her. I got mad at her. It took me about 4 years to get a handle on it,
So you
actually.
took care of her for how many years?
8 years.
8 years.
And as she got worse, of course, my patience got even less. But I did finally, I don't know if I got a thunderbolt or what, but something happened. And I started figuring out things that she enjoyed. And it did become really good after a while. And the things that developed...
For instance, what was one of the
well,
things she
one of
enjoyed?
the things was she used to always crochet and things, and she hadn't done it in years. So I just asked her to help make some squares one day, little squares. She loved it. And then that built into other things. And then she was always fiddling like this, fiddle, fiddle, fiddle. So I made this little thing that's called a fidget, and it's just this fleece thing with all these little tentacles on it. And I've given it to even men, and they just fiddled with the ends of it because they don't know what to do, so it's fiddling. So that was another thing that came out of it. And then I decided that I wanted to share this with everybody because people don't have a lot. They don't have a lot of resources. Although I will say the Alzheimer's organization really reaches out to families. They have a helpline, they have everything.
Yes.
If people would just realize that they're there, you know, they're
And the
really
other
good
thing
help.
that they do, which you also are involved in, is the Alzheimer's support
Oh, yeah, the support group is
groups.
wonderful.
And
as
those
well.
are sanctioned by the Alzheimer's Association,
Yes,
which
you
means
have to be trained by them.
and they're
to
held
do
throughout the
group.
community, different days. You run one here in the Grosse Pointes. What is the time and place of that?
That is always the first Wednesday. We're from 6 to 7:30. We've had a lot of people come and go, but I have this little core group of, I think, 5 that have become a family. We've met for over a year now.
And where do you
It's
meet?
just wonderful. St. Michael's Church. It's right behind, I guess that's Kroger's, isn't it?
It's the CVS, right?
Yes.
St.
That little road
Michael's
that goes along
Church
there.
in Grosse Pointe Woods. Yes, on the first Wednesday of the
First
month
Wednesday.
at 6 p.m.
It's confidential, it's comfortable, and such great ideas have come out of it. Not just from me, I mean from the people themselves. Wonderful
Helping
things.
each other, right?
Yep.
And now that's for family members.
It's for
That's not
families.
for the
It's not
the
for-
loved one with
No, but at
dementia.
Christmas time I had them bring their loved ones also.
You had
and
them.
that turned it out to be really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, that's great. Tell us, we've got, I think, about 2-3 minutes left. Marianne, Rose Senior Living is part of a bigger community in Clinton Township. A new one is going to be opening.
We just broke ground in October in Novi on St. John Providence property.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be very similar to our community in Clinton Township. And so if anybody knows anybody in Novi and wants to see what it's going to look like, I've had a lot of people come down and tour through our community so that they can make sure that, you know, they know what's going on out there. But it's going to be a beautiful community. It's going to, again, have independent living, assisted living, and memory care.
The same size?
Yes, it's going to be fairly, you know, about the same size, maybe a little larger.
Okay.
And then we're also, next door to our building is going to be the St. John Providence Geriatric building.
Oh, my.
And the owner of our company is Warren Rose, and from Edward Rose and Sons. And he actually he just loves, you know, the elderly, and he donates a lot of money to hospitals to help with research and different things, and he just made a large donation to St. John for the building of that geriatric
wonderful.
Building, and so that's going to be really nice, and it's a good addition to our
When is it expected
communities.
to open?
I would think maybe the summer of 2017.
Okay.
It takes about 18 months.
Yes, I'm sure
to
it
build a
does.
community like this, and so so
Yeah.
we're ready. I've
Yeah.
already taken a couple deposits.
Have you?
I have. You know, we're setting people up with tours, and there's a big need out there.
Yes, yes.
A lot of people moved maybe from the children from the Grosse Pointe area, moved out to the Plymouth or Novi area.
Yes, they did.
And so what we found is a lot of times they want their parents to be close to them.
Of course,
So-
of course. And here in on the east side, your Clinton Township community, do you have vacancies? Do you have a waiting list if somebody wanted to move in? What's the process?
Well, we actually have some availability in our assisted living and our secured memory care environment right now.
Okay.
Our independent living is full. We do have a waiting list.
Wow.
So I encourage people to come in, especially people who are like, well, I'm not quite ready for senior living. The best thing to do is come in, take a look. If this is the environment that you can see yourself living in the future, put it, you know, your deposit down, get on that waiting list, and you'll be first right of refusal. So
Sure.
if we have an apartment available, we'll call. You can come in, take a look at it, and say, oh, we're not quite ready yet. We'll go to the next person. But,
There you go.
know, you'll stay on that
So
list.
it's not when you're called, you have to make your decision
Correct, which is
right at that
wonderful.
moment. Okay. Well, believe it or not, we've come to the end of a half hour. We've had a great
Well, thank you so much for
conversation.
having us.
The programming that you're planning just sounds terrific, and we're all looking very much forward to it.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode of Aging Well in America. As always, we look for your suggestions for upcoming interviews. Please send them to us here at the Grosse Pointe War Memorial.